The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. The regular season is quickly coming to its conclusion here, and drivers need to situate themselves for their playoff lives. With an all-star break and then a road course and a super speedway, this is the last quote-unquote regular track to cement your success and have a good run to get your postseason life in order. We head to the high banks of Kansas, which is now deemed as one of the best tracks, if not the best track in the NASCAR circuit, and let's see what these Florida Estate Builders Area Pro Series drivers can do. Welcome everybody to PTR TV for today's coverage of the Area Pro Series, again presented by Florida Estate Builders for 130 circuits here around the Kansas Speedway. Gonna be myself, Corey Silva, in the booth, and Howie Burrows here. One of Brad's friends, lucky to help us out here today. Hunter not able to attend. He's actually at Charlotte, as a matter of fact, this week. So Howie, I know you are very versed here with the ovals. Kansas, a very, very fun track, and from what we're hearing, these guys are gonna be struggling and loose here tonight on the high temps.
You started with Kansas and you had me with Xfinity. These cars are going to absolutely fly and slide around this track. There's possibly going to be room to run all over the place. The progressive banking obviously going to help people run near the top as time goes on, but I think more of this track might become viable in time if these drivers don't spin out behind them. Now, as you can hear from my accent, Corey, I'm just giving you a warning right now that if you try the British accent on me, unfortunately, it's not going to quite work like you expect. Because I'm right here, I'm here to enforce in the booth. I'm like a referee of the British accent, so don't even try it. You can get through today. You've got a few lightning bolts to dodge, but you can make it through today in one piece. Exactly who you are, I think, much like these drivers hope to.
Yeah, we're here in northern Massachusetts where I am. We are undergoing heavy, severe storms right now, so hopefully they omit the broadcast tower, and I will omit a spotty and a Yorkshire pudding, so we won't worry about that, but we will worry about practice. That's it. That's it. We're drawing the line there. But we are in practice right now, so let's just pull up on the ticker, let you know where the times are, who is running where, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who knows this league to know that Sebastian Marin is our points leader and our fastest driver here in the session. John Furness there, Justin Opplinger, and now you can see the other drivers here on the screen, but let's also cover the point standings. Again, our top 10 after race number 9 at the Dover Motor Speedway. Marin up by 44, Scioli, Nichols, and Beckner. And then they start to separate there, going 146 points back to 10th with John Furness, but 12 will make the playoffs, so all these guys will be in, barring catastrophic runs. But you were talking about the layout here, Howie, and how you expect the track to widen out, and as everybody knows, that progressive banking, it makes the top of the racetrack quite advantageous, but when it's this slick, you might have to dial back that risk and reward.
If you've been keeping your eyes peeled on the cars around the track today, you might have been noticing just how many of them are going just sideways all over the place. We're running in the day, so it starts hot and it stays hot. In my opinion, I'm looking at these numbers and I'm thinking it's not an absolute scorcher. Well, I'm not even going to try and read out the Celsius. You can cover that in freedom units for me. But it is pretty hot for a very, very, very loose car, and that's could lead to disaster for a few. It could lead to a very, very challenging race for many, but it's these sort of loose races that are fun. They're fun to drive and they're fun to watch, and people are looking for grip absolutely everywhere. So we're going to cut to an end of practice, and we're going to see how many drivers can make it through qualifying in one piece.
We will have Wow, small grid here today relative to area standard. So everybody will make the grid here today. We have been sending a lot of people home, but tonight everybody will take their time here to the grid. And we're going to want to thank everyone for tuning in here to PTR TV. If you're watching on the YouTube and Facebook side, make sure you like, share, have some fun in the chat with us on the YouTube and Facebook side of things. And if you're on the Twitch side of things, then make sure you like or follow over there. Consider following for $5 a month. Get your custom emotes and earn double points to potentially get you some free area merch in due course. So again, consider subscribing if you're watching on Twitch. But the pressure of making the race is eradicated here today, but you still want to have a good qualifying lap because it still is a little tricky to pass here at Kansas.
I think we're running against NIS at the Coke 600, so some drivers have chosen to lock themselves into a cage for the next 8 hours of their lives. I'd rather be here.
Can I say one more British phase? I'm sorry. Can I say one more?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Bollocks to those people for not racing here today. All right, that's it.
I'm actually in agreement with you on that one, though. I'm in agreement with you on that one. Next Gen at Charlotte sounds like a good way for me to maybe fall asleep at the wall and end up inside the wall at one point. These cars got a lot more life on it, and I gotta say, this is a much, much more fun track. Very, very fast. Very, very wide. That progressive banking as ever. It's sort of like a Homestead style classic, but of course on the traditional cookie cutter layout. It almost looks like a super speedway from some of these angles. Most drivers able to get their times around the track. Some are just sitting in pit lane. I'm just trying to click around myself, trying to see anything of note, because it's quite hard to cover these lone qualifying sessions. I don't quite know how you do it. Here's Blake McKinney. Or Blaze McKinney on camera, and it's not the first person I'm going to get the name of wrong horribly today. Buster's time so far, 31.3, although new ones are joining the boards. We see a bit of a slide. Don't think he hit the wall there. That could be a misleading angle. That's going to be an okay starting lap. It's going to be a very, very good starting lap.
Yeah, preliminarily will be top of the board. No, it didn't count. It did not count.
He must have hit the wall on the way out.
And here in area, they only get one lap in area. So if you botch the lap, then well, you're just up a creek, so to speak here. So there's Forrest Smith getting himself in 10th, and some of our other heavy hitters. Travis Beckner, he is with Hendry County Motorsports Park, the flagman there, one of our series sponsors. He's going to rip right on that white line, and there's that loosey-goosey you were speaking of. That's going to hurt his lap. What can he muster at the line?
Looking like
31.42. Not bad.
It's good. It's P3 up on the board. I do recognize one driver on this list only because I do enough work on enough leagues. The same sort of faces come around. I gotta say, if you're doing 3 to 4 leagues a week, you're a hero. You're a hero. Yeah. I couldn't do that to myself.
Whoa, Andrew Payne feeling the pain.
Oh, no.
But is this lap going to count? It counts as a 37. That's a good lap if it sticks on the board, and it does. P4 for Andrew, evading the 0x by a matter of inches and or millimeters.
That's the game, isn't it? Getting it off that wall and staying just close enough to get the speed without losing it. On corners that last this long, it really can become tricky. I think about the exit of 4 is where you have the most trouble. A real slide out wide there from Matt Kemp. But it'll be a 31.3. Do we get the sense it's going to be a fast lap looking on board? We see him running it quite high, but at the same time, it's just very uneasy through those corners if he even makes the transition. Yeah. I'm not going to try and judge from my angle whether or not he hit the thing. It would be a 31.6, which wouldn't be particularly strong. It is legal. It is P8. Well, if a lot of people are setting illegal laps here, that might actually be stronger up on the board. Like traditionally, that would be a lower position time, I believe. But almost all the drivers have done it. I think a lot have had wall hits. Yeah,
this is James Scioli. He's just pulling out of the pits right now. Philip Groner just taking his flyer right now. Nate Stewart has yet to take the grid. Now, we did get privy. I didn't update the graphic for it, but we do have a bunch of drivers who have EOLs here today. The 05 of Nate Stewart, which is one of our top dogs. He is not going to be taking time because he's starting in the back. The 14, the 2, the 27, the 39, the 44, 46, 57, 92, and 98. So that's about a third of the field has an EOL penalty, if they show, which is the verbiage given by our admin. The 11 and the 78 have drive-through. So basically a third of the field has no interest in qualifying because essentially it's not going to matter for them. But for the rest of them, they'll take advantage of it. Jake Nichols, always a top dog in the league. He's going to go third. Mr. James Scioli, he went to second. And let's see, Mr. Sebastian Marin, he is the league dominator. And he won't get a time in because the session ran out.
There are some drivers, probably just over half the drivers of that list are in the session. Half are just about not got 5 minutes to warm up. 5 more chances to watch people spin around with no pressure other than the embarrassment of the cameras, of course. Who's going to brave it? How many people brave it in this league in the warm-up?
Well, I'd say typically what happens is about 50-50. If everybody is here and they're aware of their situation, a lot of times admin will bump it. So sometimes you get a lap or two out of it. Here at Kansas, not a bad idea to get some practice with your pit entry, because I do expect with this slightly smaller field count that you will have some potentially, hopefully, a green flag pit stop. Just saying that. It'll be 75 cautions, but hopefully we will get the strategy in, as we are well known to having here in the Area Pro Series. So we'll see what happens here, but all in all, should be a good event for us here today.
Of course. Can I pull back the curtain on the warm-up, as I now realize why it's like that and why it gets cut short? I feel like I'm revealing a magic trick. It's used to eliminate people that don't qualify on time.
Typically,
which
yes.
No one's going to be eliminated on time, so we might not be here for very long indeed.
Because we do have 36 chartered entries here in area, and typically we get 44 to 46 drivers. So they have to go through the the open driver list, and who of the open drivers is highest up and who isn't. There's a lot of things that admin has to sort out. And as you said, nothing to sort out, but maybe they'll just give them that time to run their laps here, get that practice. I think I brought up the weather earlier, about 101 track temp we're down to now. Saturday, May 10th as the sim date, and we're pushing 3:30 sim time. So this track temp should cool down, but by no means this will be a night race. So still we'll be dealing with the Kansas sunshine.
I'm watching some drivers slip and slide across the infield. I'm going to choose not to name and shame them at this stage, because this is your chance to find these things out in the meantime. But under race conditions, I'm a little bit worried about how many of these drivers are going to be able to keep this together under race conditions. These cars are seeming loose. I've heard people complain on the chat about them being loose during the practice. I've seen plenty of cars go backwards. Do that on your own, you can reset the car. Do that in the field, and it could end up quite explosive. I found another. I still won't name and shame. You know what? We're going to save the keen insight for the race. Yeah, you're allowed to make mistakes in this era, but I have definitely seen another. Drivers are struggling, even now.
Somebody off turn 2 there, all the way down yonder on the back straightaway there, having some issues. But all in all, Kansas, one of those tracks, as you see Nate Stewart getting sideways. So, and I will say, Howie, what happens a lot of times here with these multi-groove tracks is the lane that you choose to run will affect kind of your handling as well. If you run the top of the racetrack, you have a propensity to put more wear on that right rear tire, gets you a little bit looser. If you choose to run the bottom, you're putting more wear into that right front tire, and that usually makes you a little bit tighter. So sometimes you can kind of, even within a fixed setup, kind of maneuver your stability around by where you're running on these wide circuits.
Xfinity fixed setups are tough. Like they honestly, like sometimes you think iRacing make their sets just to be easy, and Xfinity sets come around and they go, hey, would you like to be sliding, or would you like to be sliding more? Sort of don't get a choice in the matter. It's just, how much would you like to slide? Yes.
Well,
that's what it sometimes feels like.
There goes
There's another
one.
I mean, I caught another one on the backstretch. I mean, it's I'm just thinking the more time goes on here, the more where we might see some field clearers. Now, this is not a league I regularly have involvement in, so I do need you to let me know how Incident Field has a race been here before.
Haven't covered a Kansas race, but we covered Chicagoland, and that race went very, very clean, very, very green. The Truck Series race here on Tuesday raced very pack-like, just because it was under the lights, and what you saw to Daniel Day there was not applicable because those guys had a lot of grip. But here in this race, not a lot of grip. I think this is going to spread out. I think it's going to turn into a car control race, so I wouldn't be surprised to have this go green, but I am also quite frequently wrong. But this is going to be the end of warm-up just in a few seconds, and our starting lineup here today, as always, is brought to you by Central Mobile Homes. If you're looking for a small or a large home, a new shed or Triple Crown trailer, look no further than Central Mobile Homes. They've been proudly serving Florida customers for 29 years. A plethora of small, large home floor plan shed designs and Triple Crown trailers. Available in LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. Head to centralmobilehomesinc.com and get yourself some more information. But on that note, I think the timer has clicked down. I timed that out perfectly. And let's head down trackside for that PTR TV starting lineup. And this is all prior to the EOL, so there may be some inaccuracies. John Furness is going to start things off with James Scioli in the second position. Third will be Mr. Mike Venable in that 77, and then Jake Nichols going to roll off in the fourth spot. Fifth finds Justin Opplinger and then Philip Groner in Racing Country, Mooresville, North Carolina in the sixth position. Seventh is Zach Nichols in the Aussie. Mr. Zach Curry gets a top 10 rolling off in the eighth spot. Rounding out our top 10 finds the likes of Jonathan Evans and then Andrew Payne, and hopefully the names are nice to you there, Howie, for 11th odd back.
They're never nice to me, and I'm never nice to them. In 11, Justin Anagosak sits next to Travis Beckner. In 13th, we have Connor Horn next to Braxton DeWeese. 15th and 16th is Reese Schaefer and Matt Kemp. Behind them, Jeremy Miller, Brody Fallaker, Alan Fox, and Joseph Berg on the 10th row.
I'd say you got off pretty easy there. You got Nico Servideo in 21st, Greg Mitchell out of Texas in 22nd, Casey Lakatos in 23rd, with Forrest Smith in 24th. Sebastian Marin, he is all the way back there. This is going to be a row to watch. Marin and Stewart, 25th and 26th. They won't stay there for very long. Daniel Day, 27th, Blaze McKinney in 28th, and this will be our final row. Jeff Wright and Francis Hamilton, Dr. Pepper makes the world taste better, rolling off there in 30th. So that is our race grid, our race detail, sponsored by, we don't have a sponsor for this segment. 130 laps, no stages, as always here in area, straightforward flag to flag race. 4 sets of Goodyears availing in the pits with a full fuel load, again, fixed sets. And we can do some overtime if we need it.
They're starting to give out some of these black flags to drivers. Look out for Philip Groner on the P6. He'll be ending up at the back of the field, trying to report a few others as they drop in. We were just given a list of numbers, and then half of them are choosing to race NIS instead. So you get what you get. Now, I do need to warn you one more thing about any race I run and I work in, is that I have the most legendary commentator's curse in history sometimes. So you might think you're immune. You might think Brad's immune. Brad claims he's immune. I'm not. I'm built in. The 27 of Beckner also end of line. Casey Lakatos, the number 50, also being dropped back. They're throwing out penalties like crazy here. Connor Horn, Greg Mitchell, Nate Stewart, Philip Groner, all for cause of yellow in a previous race.
There is an incident point system here in the series, and Howie will get privy to it as the race progresses. As incidents come out, drivers will get either +1, +2, or if they deem it as a racing incident, 0. But as they get +2 incident points, they get to a level where you get EOLs, and then you get a drive-through if you get even more, and then eventually, like I said on Tuesday, if you get just too many incident points, you hit the road jack and you don't come back no more unless you start getting clean races to where you can kind of, those points wear off. But too many incidents in too short of a time period, you'll get the boot, but you get a little bit of warning before you get there. But that is one.
Just look at the I ratings in this race. And I always have I always have one incident, one diplomatic incident with my hardware mute switch. I look at the I ratings of this race, my head kind of spins, and I'm just like, whoa. I got 2K and over recently, and I was proud of it. So level of drive, and I'm already set up for a thriller just looking at this one, let me tell you that. And I do got to say, out of all 3 of the modern cars, these are the ones that do it for me. The trucks do race like a pack. You know, they do sort of just turn everything at Talladega. The Cup cars, they're a bit weird. You've seen me struggle in the Cup cars on this very channel, in fact, at Dover. And but these cars, they've got a little bit of slide, a little bit of bite. They race hard. They get close. They can take damage very, very easily. So on a track like this, you know, I'm glad I was drafted here on this for this day, because it's typically a thriller around here.
Yeah, that's why you always hear the Cup drivers dropping down into the Xfinity Series, and it's fun to be able to slide a car around. It's not planted, and you know, you don't have to drive it like a GT3 car. You can drive it and slide it around like oval cars are meant to be. So these Xfinity cars certainly will test these drivers, arguably the most difficult of the top tier drivers, and that's why we have a very astute field here in the Florida Estate Builders Pro Series. Coming off turn number 4, Flagman has the flag in hand. The green is ready to wave in that restart zone. Let's get on the loud pedal and let's go racing from the Kansas Speedway. Side by side down the front stretch into turn number 1. Everybody's going to be flat foot at least for the opening turn as we get up to full song, and 28 will get the whole shot, clear up the track. They'll remain door to door for second. And we'll see where these lanes go as they enter turn 3.
Going to see a lot jumping for the top very, very early on. You really don't care about your tyre wear at this stage. But it's John Furnas who got the good start off the beginning, and then sort of no one joined him on the outside lane. They've all washed down a little bit. This is where you're going to be jockeying for position a little before we end up single file again into turn 1 and 2. It's James Scioli on the top side and Michael Van Abel on the bottom. Scioli just has the advantage for now, but onto the straight they seem pretty dead even. This pack staying very close, but I'm seeing separation starting with the 88, who isn't quite catching up to Jonathan Evans.
Yeah, that's Justin Anasogak on the Dale Jr.-esque car there. He is, I'll cut that thought off because we got agricultural work being done there on the front straightaway. That's Nico Servideo. So the landscaper here will have a little bit easier of a job, but at the detriment of the 18. We'll go on our Hendry County Motorsports Park replay. That's Sebastian Marin on his charge to the front, and I don't think Servideo realized they were 3 abreast there and just slid up a little too far, but lost the track position in the time, but he'll get to carry on.
Pack's already catching up to Philip Groner. He had a drive-through given from the start of the race. That's more brutal than end of line, and that's put him almost a lap down off the bat. He'll get his lap back under a potential caution, but we're seeing a lap car come up in traffic on lap 4 as a result of that penalty. I hope he doesn't cause a diplomatic incident this early on the track. There's plenty of time for him to get back into the race. Just being one down like this, you're not going to go completely caution-free about a single mistake, but the field has come to single file except for that third row. Jake Nichols and Michael Van Abel there still sort of tangling around, probably costing each other a bit of time. John Furnas has really run away here.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, contrary to what we saw on Tuesday night in the Truck Series where everybody was rim riding, the bottom of the racetrack is seeming to be the preferred lane. Maybe that is a tire saving method, or maybe these cars are just too loose to run the top. That's something that it's surprising to hear. Usually if you're tight, you'd think you want to run the top, but actually if you're too loose, it's too slip sliding, and you risk putting yourself into that wall. But Philip Groner starting to put a little bit of dirty air on John Furnas, and James Scioli and Jake Nichols having to go for that second spot. Nichols will get it on that outside lane, and now let's see if he can make the move on that 73, or rather on the 28.
Numbers are hard, trust me. We had discussions about mathematics just before then. It's definitely maths by the way. Yeah, a lot of settling out though. A lot of drivers getting in their place. I'm not sure if Furnas is getting hit quite yet by this sort of dirty air effect from the car ahead, but the one thing I do know is that Jake Nichols is going for it. He's trying to get momentum on the outside and gather it on the top of the progressive banking. He is a little bit faster, but entry is going to be tricky. Look out for the exit of 4 as we approach the tri-oval. That's going to be the big determinant. I think Nichols had a lot more pace on that top. He sort of just cleared right by mid-corner, and he slides on up ahead 4 tenths to the group behind.
Yeah, I think that outside lane, as these tires wear more and more, you just lose that grip, you lose that bite to be able to run on that flatter part of the racetrack. You need to use that banking that Kansas Speedway offers you. And we saw Sebastian Marin in that little bit of a incident per se with Nico Servideo. Well, he's already up to the top 10 right now, and look at the gaggle that he's found himself in. He's on the bottom. That's Jonathan Evans. That's 3 wide in front of him. I think Evans, Miller, and who is that to the top? That's Venable, who is on the way back, and now just slicing and dicing, now running the top, now running the bottom. Here comes Venable, and he's into the fence as Marin tries to chase him down.
It's interesting, they're not really racing the cars right next to them. We saw sort of that top lane attack for the P1 when the drivers came really close. These two, though, are taking polar opposites. They're sitting all the way at the top and all the way on the bottom, and there's sort of no middle ground. Seeing that 24 of Sebastian Marin run a little bit lower than the 77 up front, although I don't quite know if it's washing out. Quite a slow car up there in the field. Could really be a jammer. That's the... Is it the 7 of James Scioli? He's sort of acted as a block up there, and 77 all the way in the wall. He's been struggling a few times with it. These cars take body damage easily, so that hit probably doesn't do it. But once you do it a few times, you probably want to think, want to stay away from that for a little while. It's really cost him a lot of time, and even the car that was with him, that 24, has sort of given up on that chase already.
Yeah, a little bit nervous running that outside lane, but maybe he's already burnt the tires to where that's the only place he can feel to run, as difficult as it may be. But good surge, only 11 laps into the event, but Zach Kerr, again the Aussie, he's already gone up 4 positions up on the day, getting into that 4th spot. And again, having that James Scioli back there in that 7, who is on the way back. Miller to the bottom, and then look at running the Larson line. Sebastian Marin, everybody else is too free to run the top, and he says, nope, look at me. You guys can't do it, but I can. I'm the master. And I think he goes Bob's your uncle, 2 spots in 1 corner.
I think drivers are they're taking a few positions, give or take, up the front of this field, but now you're in that phase where you're playing your own run, and if you've run your line and you're happy with getting a few positions, you'll take them. But in such a long race down the line, it's going to be an hour of green flag running. If that's no incident, I see the 30 real slide, a real save. Jeremy Miller, he's going to drop back by a ton. Mid-sentence there, it's a very, very good save to keep him together. But he's dropping down like a rock now as a result of that.
Yeah, quickly we'll check
Even got compliments on the chat for this.
We'll check out that on our Hendry County replay. A little bit of contact from the rear by Venable, and that was, we may have to give that our Ricky Rudd Save of the Race award. That was a great bit of driving by Jeremy Miller. Puts him back to the 30.
I'm aware of the Ricky Rudd. We're going to save the Ricky Rudd. Sit and wait for its time.
Yeah.
You know, like
a little early. Maybe
it'll cook. It'll cook when its time is ready.
We can divvy it up a little bit later. But we were talking about how Marin has already gotten to the top 5, as I just saw flicker. Power, please stay on for me. But someone who I thought would kind of tag team him through the field, Mr. Nate Stewart, has not done so. He's only up 4 spots, up to the 22nd position, and not really showing that same vengeance as Sebastian Marin, who is already in the top 5 and only a second and a half behind the leader. Jake Nichols is leading this charge down right now. Leading and further ahead of that, I believe, is still Philip Groner, who has not gone his lap down. So that shows the speed that he has, that he can hang on to the lead. He just needs the circumstances to play out where he could take advantage of it.
Spotted my first instance of a driver cutting that apron on the trioval, which I believe you can do here. Maybe
Yes.
this league has special rules you can fill me in. It was Jeff Wright in the 48, and I think it lost him time and positions. So I'm sure drivers are going to really start, going to jockey, are going to go for it. Right now, this track's not really ready for that. Now, I get to savor 2 really exciting things to watch at once. I get to watch an Xfinity race at Kansas, and I get to watch Corey Silver's Power. So I have a really fun game.
Power?
You're not having the same kind of fun. Well, I get to watch where the power's
Power
going
in
to go
terms
out.
of my
Like,
electricity.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, am I
Like,
speaking with power? Am I speaking
I'm sorry. I'm British. You just have to deal with this for some time now. But yeah, I get the 2 exciting things to watch. It's probably less fun and exciting for you.
Yep.
I'm just keeping an eye on that 48. He's running all the way up the top. He's given up right on that pursuit straight away after the 8th cut.
Yeah, and then I saw the 27 of Travis Beckner just behind that. He was looking to see if maybe a 3-wide move was in the cards there, but that's Braxton Deweese and that number 13 below him, and drivers just starting to get really, really free on that bottom as these tires do wear. and putting more wear into that right rear, and they're having to decide where to run. But not a lot of drivers are choosing to go up to the fence. Who is that just behind? That's Blaze McKinney. He's choosing to run up there in that third lane, but it's not nearly as popular. It's just interesting, Howie, that depending which car you're driving, and I guess the weather, it can make a track just almost feel like a completely different circuit.
I mean, these are proper stock cars in a way. I mean, look, the next gen is a very interesting car. I'm not just going to go on like some rant about it, but
well,
it's
everybody
a
else
sports car. It's a economically for NASCAR, it made sense, even if I don't like driving it. But like, it's a sports car, it's a sports car pedigree, and it was sort of built on the foundation of a sports car. And the truck is, I don't know what that thing is. That's the car I'm going to dog on all day. These are the stock cars of stock cars. My favorite cars are Gen 4, and these aren't the same thing, but they've got that sort of like feel of like they slide, they use their horsepower to sort of slide the rear. You have to balance that. Very, very traditional stuff. And yeah, these cars sort of tiptoe around every track they're on, don't they? Just quite a little bit. If you have full confidence in this thing, you are built different. I love it to bits, but it does take bravery, maybe in a way that the A-Series car doesn't quite. Seeing more drivers on that apron, by the way. I'm like playing apron watch. I've got the binoculars out. Who's going to do it? I eventually that'll become a dominant strategy in time.
Well, I feel like the longer you run and the more you wear, the more that car is unstable. It actually makes it quite difficult to run down there because you are putting more wheel into it. You're going from about a 8-degree banking on the tri-oval down to 0, back up to 8. It can be very undulating and put the car through a lot of motions in a quick time frame. So kind of akin to even Phoenix in the next gen car. You can't run down there, or if you do, it does get a little sketchy, so to speak, as the 70 of Andrew Payne runs there. And looking up a little bit further, we have Zach Kerr and Justin Oplinger. I think in this instance, Oplinger is the passer and Zach Kerr is the passee. Or actually, no, I'm wrong. You know what's throwing me off there, Howie? I look up front and I see Philip Groner, and my brain is saying he's the leader, but he's not. And another point of interest is if you look at the paint schemes, or liveries, as Brad and I quite frequently go back on, these are teammates. So Groner is not under too much pressure, probably until Nichols says, all right, you're slowing me up, let me bud.
It's Philip Groner. He's dominating this field today. What a spectacular race. Maybe he'd be wishing for that for now. I mean, he's going to need a yellow to be thrown to have a chance to get back into this, which, like, statistically, like, happens eventually, but also isn't a literal guarantee. And this league so far have certainly proven themselves as people that can run it cleanly and run it well. So you could just sort of end up doomed in like lap purgatory. I mean, here comes Jake Nichols to finally take that lap out. He's had enough of it. Wonder if his teammate will work behind. Because they could achieve something nice by working together here. They certainly don't want to race each other hard. And the great thing about Philip is he doesn't really have any competition for a wave around. So he just needs to keep it clean and keep it alive on this field. I also noticed Nico Savidio is just miles back, as is Casey Lakatos, who is one of the drivers who had quite a few issues in the warm-ups. So they've had some slips and incidents that have kept this race green. Otherwise, we've done a lot of stringing out around it. Yeah, I just got thrown for it again. I thought P1 and P2 are already being close. I just did it myself. There's a big gap, 7/10 of a second to John Furnas.
Yeah, precisely that. Now here comes James Scioli in the 7. Now Sebastian Marin worked himself up to that 5th position, and I wonder if he over-abused those the goodness on his good years to where that 7 may have a little bit more to muster right now, looking different lanes. He's straddling that seam, using that kind of 18 and 19 degrees of banking. Some drivers will do that to help the handling up, Aaron up at the top, and that will persevere for him. Looking a little bit further still, here comes Zach Kerr, again, the Aussie. This is the best run we've seen out of him. This is for second. It's not for the lead. Again, Philip Groner is throwing me off with my car count up here. But this is for second. Down to the flat is Zach Kerr. Now, is he going to try a Kansas slider, or will that bottom have enough grip? Nope, he's not going to run the bottom. He's going to run the middle. And let's see if that momentum will allow him to remain side by side down the back.
I think I assume they don't want to like battle each other too hard, as much as they just sort of want to run their lines and hopefully not end up inside each other. I think if you just like play an obsessive battle over P2 at this stage, you sort of lose sight of what really matters in the really long run of this race. It is going to go very, very, very long run. Now, that sometimes means Furnas will be ahead or Kyle will be ahead, depending on what line was fastest at what time. And that can kind of look like a trade. I imagine they're not putting their absolute all into it right now. If they're happy running their own lines, they're also not holding the other one really up, although Furnas is looking to hopefully make this run away. I have a feeling that Grona is going to play well for his teammate here, and that could make this quite challenging.
Okay, we'll see what happens. On terms of the fall off here, I put up on the ticker, but let's reference with our leader right now, Jake Nichols, on our graphic. Best lap at a 31.7 down to a 33.2, which basic maths would say that's approximately a second and a half of fall off in 28 laps. I'm going to use my massive guesstimation skills to say that pit range is probably 50 to 60 laps-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. So, and dare I say it, I know you're the commentator's curse person there, Howie, but this race is having that green flag feel to it where we might have to start coming up with those long-term strategies. It is pretty well strung out, less this little trio here, fourth, fifth, and sixth, excuse me.
I've gotten away with it a few times, so maybe I did all that hyping up for nothing. Or maybe it was like a league centralized like issue, and then like it will wash over somewhere new. There's plenty of time to find out. Imagine that this race is even close to over. We have 100 laps of Kansas, maybe. Although I'm impressed at the fact that the drivers have sort of, many of them, most of them, almost all of them, have got their jitters out their system around here, and they've learned how to run this one a bit slower. Quite a big battle happening here for fourth, fifth, and sixth. They're sort of challenging themselves to almost go free wide around here. None of them quite committing to it yet, but this is a battle where the two aren't really in harmony. This is a little bit of a nudge onto the 7, almost gets turned around. He's okay. Yeah, these guys are what we call actually fighting.
So that was kind of a guessing game gone wrong in my quick viewing experience there, and that happens quite a bit at these multi-groove tracks where you look in the mirror, all right, I'm going to run the low line, he's going to run the middle. Well, if he runs the middle, you know, you're at a point where you have to quickly avert, and sometimes a little bit of contact happens in those instances. I think Venable may have been in the fence there at the back of the shot. Let's go back a little bit further, find some racing to be had. The 30, remember he had that, what may be the Ricky Rudd Save of the Race award. He's back to 15th. Andrew Payne ripping on the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to pull alongside. And just behind that is the 57 of Connor Horn. Connor Horn is just looking for some good luck. He has had top 10 speed. He's had top 5 speed. But something always goes wrong, and Connor is just looking to get that monkey off his back. He is here in 17th.
Well, he's going to need to get a lot of pace out of him if he wants this to be his race, starting from 17. But maybe I haven't seen the depths of his curse yet. I've not dug deeply enough, and we'll see what happens. That's all I'll say. Connor Horn now up to 15th after a couple passes on the road. More and more taking that apron down as they just try and reduce their time against the cheese grater banking of this track. All 3 lanes looking viable for different drivers around this track. We were able to run 3 wide in places, and it doesn't even look like it's going to end in disaster. There's a lot of space and a lot of speed around there, even with this drop-off.
Yeah, exactly that. Kansas, again, one of the tracks that they're actually trying to vie it in the future as a track that will hold the NASCAR Championship event. I mean, the weather here in November is a little bit to be determined, but some drivers are surely looking for it. But while we have a green flag run here, let's just kind of help out some of our series partners here. They provided a couple replays here today already. The Hendry County Motor Sports Park Racing is back at Hendry County, and if you are watching this live on 2 days in May 24th, you can see the street stocks, $1,000 to win, the Crusoe late models, and more. Tickets are $20. Kids age 5 and under get in free. You can get a family ticket pack of 4 for $25. Get the see the racing at the southernmost dirt track in America, Clewiston, Florida, off Highway US 27. Go to HendryCounty.com. Travis Beckner, the flagger there, and he's trying to flag his way a little bit higher in the field, but he might be putting the flag out there because he was very loose, but somehow got a run out of it. Goes underneath Brody Falliker here. Is he going to do a Kansas slider? No, he's not. Zach Nichols might put him in the middle of a sandwich as the 44 gets underneath and the 27 slideways.
That looked like it could have ended in disaster. I'll keep my eye on these three a little bit more. I was looking, just the one just sort of almost came down twice into him. Big twitches on the top of this track. They settled out for a bit, and now Brody is sitting right on the bottom of that track. Probably where he wants to be after that scare. Almost, someone crazier would have sent it free in the half a second available there, but not quite happening. Everybody just sort of changing their lane here every single lap. No one's got a fixed pattern they're running to. Still, just the drivers that come up off to near the middle and off it. On this trioval, there are just these scary twitches that make me think, uh-oh, I'm about to witness disaster.
Yeah, I used to watch some air crash investigations, and there was another series of them. I think it was called Moments from Disaster, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what it feels like here, except so far the disasters have yet to happen. Looking back in the mid-20s now, Nate Stewart up to the 19th spot, slowly working his way through the field, very, very slowly, but the progress is still being made. Battle again for second. Zach Kerr still wants it. John Furnace still has it. Going down to the inside of the raceway, trying to do the old Kansas slider. Hard to do it in 1 and 2, and that slider is going to keep him loose and sideways through the whole corner. That'll get the right rear tire mad. Hopefully it becomes happier and lets him finish out the run, because sometimes once you get that right rear tire mad, it doesn't recover, and you are loosey-goosey for the remainder of your run.
Earlier today, I said they weren't really battling hard. I think I constitute this now as an active battle, though, where we're running the same lanes and trying to get big and under the other. Anything's going to matter by the time you need to make that first pit stop, which will happen whether their hands are forced by external factors I will not name or not. I mean, it's going to happen, and you're going to want to make that good entry, and you're going to want to come out right ahead to be in that top two. Jake Nichols has had the run of his life, and it probably helps that the car behind him isn't choosing to battle him for it, though. Probably helps that he sort of gets him clear over his own. It was 7/10 last time we looked at these at the front. Now it's 1.4 seconds.
Exactly that here, and I'm just looking here at some Kansas history here in the Area Pro Series, and there actually have been 2 cautions here. This is usually what Hunter's really good at, so hopefully I'm not butchering this as they are battling. There have been 2 caution-free races here, both won by James Scioli. So that is something of note. Actually, the last race here had 2 cautions, but yeah, James Scioli did win a race here with no cautions. Jake Nichols also won a race here, season 6. Last caution was 111 laps to go. So again, races here tend to have long green flag runs. And yes,
we have our first pit stops.
That's right.
Let's go.
Jeremy Miller, Alan Fox. This is lap 40, so this would imply to me 40. Actually, I guess it's a little early. I wouldn't want to do a 3-stop, but that's a long 2-stop.
45 to 50. I sounds like for that. I mean, like typically you can just say for any stock car that 45 to 50 on a mile and a half of work. It's like it's like an automatic formula. It just sort of prints itself. I mean, like, it's not even like extraordinary in the sense that, like, you know, all the tracks are the same length for the mile and a halfers, and they have a miles per gallon on them, and they just happen to be quite similar. So it's not like I've encountered some black magic here. Also, Daniel Day hitting it up. If we're gonna go run long, I mean, and we're not gonna have horrible things happen to people, then Jake Nichols is so fast, and he's been extending that gap over the course of this run. So if he keeps running as he is and nothing quite gets in his way, it's going to take a miracle to catch him at this point, and I'm calling that one quite early. I mean, one of the great things about these stock car races, though, is oftentimes what you don't expect to happen will happen.
Well, my veto to that statement is going to be I am very curious to see what happens with the 24. The 24 had to exert a lot of the goodness out of his race car to get up from the back of the pack all the way to the 5th spot, and if you put him on fresh tires to where he doesn't need to go 115%, he may be able to eat into that gap, but currently he is battling with Justin Oplinger to try to remain in that 5th spot, that 55, trying to dig down on the low side and make something happen. But again, 130 laps, so maybe 45, 90, that leaves you 40 to the end. That seems like a good stint for me. I don't think we're making it to 65 to split this race in half, so but with the tire fall off we have, Howie, we're at about 1.7 seconds of fall off right now approximately, so every lap that you stay out versus a competitor who has pit, you're just adding a gap that you're going to have to eat into. And you know, these strategy races, like, you know, think of it almost an F1 race or a road race. It really gets that, you know, that hamster wheel in the brain spinning.
Talk about people having a bad day. Daniel Day ate a penalty on pit exit. He's having to stop and hold all over again. And without these cautions materializing, he's not getting his good laps back anytime soon. So Jake Nichols, I was 1.4 seconds. It's been cut back down to 8 tenths again. So James Scioli, it's these two that seem to compete at Kansas, isn't it? It's these two that compete at Kansas, playing the game up against each other. That's some good pace once the rival got out of the way that Scioli's going to use to chase down further back. John Furness is battling up against Justin Oplinger. I'm hearing the 24. Sebastian Marin now about to make a pit stop next lap. We're hearing calls all over the radio. The whole field's fighting.
Here comes Furness getting down. You got to peel off that banking and get on to the pit road here. Travis Beckner appearing to join as well, getting down to, I believe, 45 or 50 miles an hour, one of the two. And then getting down into your pit stall. Scioli is still about 7 tenths off of the lead. Groner has gotten by Nichols again, whether that's intentional or not. Maybe Nichols thinks maybe if a caution comes out, let me give you that opportunity to get the lucky dog. Or maybe Groner just has speed, one of the two. But either way, that has occurred. Zach Nichols is now up to the 3rd spot right now. He is about 4 seconds off of the pace. As plenty of pit stops. Here comes Sebastian Marin. This should draw some of the leaders in. Here comes Oplinger. Here comes Zach Kerr. So this is certainly going to make the leaders make a quick decision.
Are the Nichols related?
Negative.
You'd know this if anyone knew this.
Negative.
I was thinking, we have Nichols on Nichols, but they're not on the same
Robbie
team.
and Jeff Gordon, they weren't related. Whoa! Jake Nichols going in aggressive, sliding there at the cone. Hopefully he got that thing low down to pit speed, but he went in with all of the mustard there.
I don't see a black flag. I don't see a black flag. He's still going. I mean, that's the Ricky Rudd entry of the race, perhaps, to make that in on time. And now we have Zach Nichols up front, Jonathan Evans due to pass. It's this top 17 that haven't stopped, and you know that's being cut down by the lap now.
Yeah, right now it's. Yeah, we'll see what happens as we'll bring up the stint graphic here on our side ticker here and lets you know we're waiting on about 15 drivers to pit. Everybody up who has that 50, they are on their original set of tires, as all through the while still have a battle for the lead. Jeff Wright, he is already pitted, so he is driving through the field like Superman, going high, going low, and that will be the trend. The important thing now is to get on the lead lap as quickly as possible to evade having to take a wave around. Right now, Connor Horn, first driver a lap down. Zach Kerr just behind. Zach Kerr trying to go first car a lap down. And everybody behind him is going to be requiring this race to go green for this whole cycle to come through, as here comes Zach down.
There's nothing like stopping and like when you've like lost 2 laps in the lane and then suddenly the caution comes out. Huge pack of drivers up front. Take a look at this 3 and 4 car and this P3 and P4 and look at what they have to contend with in front of them. LA traffic has hit the Kansas Speedway. Some of these drivers have stopped. Some of them have not. Some of them are laps down. Some of them are on the laps. And there's a wreck on pit entry with the 70. He's been turned around, the 70 car.
Andrew Payne, and that's off the... that is off the racetrack.
He got turned by Reese Schaefer on entry.
Get that on our Hendry County Motorsports Park replay here. And yeah, that was... I mean... I'm not admin here, and that one's a little hard to call each side, but either way, works poorly for the 70, and because it happened all the way down off the racing surface, it will not trigger a caution flag. That's Jonathan Evans in, and he was locking up the tires aggressively on his entry, so hopefully no issues for him. Justin Anasogak, the Alaskan Assassin, I believe his nickname is, that I've never used, but I'm pretty sure Hunter said that at one point or another. He is our leader, still waiting on about 4 drivers to enter the pits.
That's a good nickname. Wow. You've got to know your stuff to come up with that one.
Yeah, he is from Alaska, so there's like 5 people that live there, so I guess one of them has to be the assassin, and Anasogak gets that title there in the Hell Yeah, or is it Dale Yeah, Hell Yeah? Either way, have to love any kind of Budweiser-esque paint scheme there, but Sebastian Marin, let's take a look at our drivers, how they have shaken out. He is in 11th now in relation to Jake Nichols. That 24 car, he's running pretty close to where that 73 car is. So as I said, give Marin a little bit of fresh tires and watch out here. This is going to be interesting once this all shuffles out.
Looking at the aggregate positions after the stop, it's Zach Kerr who's leading the field on the single-digit tire stints. Also, Jeff Wright has double the laps of people who have just stopped, but he bit incredibly early. So he'll be aggregate leader, but he'll be falling off a cliff pretty soon. It's Zach Kerr, Jake Nichols, and James Scioli. There's more battling behind between Furness and Opplinger and Casey Lakatos. They're chasing it around. I heard some controversy on the radio, by the way, about drivers not calling their pit entry. It has led to confusion on this first pit stop.
Perhaps that's what happened with the the 70 and the 55. Just, you don't want to let your strategy be known because you want to catch people off guard, but at the same time, you also have to just be safe and ensure that there's no issues here, such as hitting the wall there, as Zach Curtis briefly did, and as you talked about Jeff Wright falling off the cliff with those about 10 lap older tires or so. And there goes Zach Kerr immediately swallowing up, just grabbing that can of Pepsi and just drinking it quickly, just throwing it in the bin here. Here he goes down to the inside, and Zach Kerr not quite the leader, but he soon will, still waiting on Anasogak, Berg, and Hamilton.
Really, the biggest losers here are the drivers who have been dropping off and yet haven't really made their stop in time. The 50's had a bad race from the beginning, actually, after a spin, so maybe that wasn't the source of those problems. I'm noticing Philip Groner is just trying to literally run this tank empty because, of course, if there's a yellow that restacks the field, he's back on lead lap. He is essentially a lap down, but he's been brought back into P11 as a result of this pit cycle. So he is the oldest dog that's just dropping down the field, and I see why he's doing what he's doing. I don't know what else I'd do in that situation. I think a lot of the field, but here he comes. I think now that car's got to be running out for good, and he's going to be praying yet again for the reprieve, but it hasn't come yet. We've kept it very clean and very safe.
Berg just came in, and Anasogak coming into the pit, so that will shuffle things over to the Aussie, Mr. Zach Kerr, who will have the lead, but not by a long margin here, because that is Jake Nichols behind. Nichols does have 1 lap fresher tires on his number 73 automobile, so that will certainly have a small bit of advantageous abilities there, but ultimately, it's one thing to pass him, one thing to get by, and actually, he is closing in a hurry. You'd think that 1 lap was 10 by how much faster that 73 appears to be at the current time.
My overlay keeps trying to tell me that drivers have crashed when they are exiting the pit lane. So, like, they're slow, but they're not crashing.
Here in Chicagoland, I don't know why, but that is something that I've learned as well. It's become a difficult thing.
I mean, I'm glad I don't have the camera control today, because I would have taken that bait once or twice. And you've learned these tracks very, very well. Jack Kerr and Jake Nichols dueling out for the win. Jake Nichols was unstoppably fast in the first run. Now he's got to make a pass on the track. 800ths in it. He's going to hold the high line. There's a car in front, that 23. Shouldn't be a disruption for now. I think Nichols is faster. That 12 really washing down the track. Zach Kerr's going to go for the cut. That's going to give him a slight reprieve, but it's certainly not the fastest way around the track. I think Jake Nichols is claiming this lead again.
Yeah, that outer lane starting to come into play here as the rubber goes down, which you can visibly see here on the circuit. You can see those rubbered lanes filling in, but again, this thing is going pretty clean, so we gotta pay some of the bills here, and let's cover some of our other sponsors here with the area Florida State Builders Pro Series. Elite Entertainment. Add some life to your party this spring with Elite Entertainment, located in Boiling Springs, South Carolina. Elite Entertainment provides high-quality band production to entertain at any location. Includes karaoke, singo, which is musical bingo, and more. Visit the link tree in the description for more information. That is Elite Entertainment, and this race is providing Elite Entertainment as well. We just don't have the soundtrack or karaoke for it. But just going back here, you can see Brody Falliker, Zach Nichols in the 44, back to 11th, trying to work his way through.
That makes both of us that have had throat-related mishaps while we're speaking, so I feel less bad. And, you know, also you should know that you're not alone. We're both probably struggling together. Although I'm glad your power's holding up. You know, I'm still wishing out the best for that one.
Mute buttons are nice when you have a cough. But
hearing some damage on one of these cars, the 88, calling out the car in front, calling out probably Andrew Payne has damage on the front. Yeah, that would have been from the little incident into pit road. It wasn't those two drivers that were complaining about calling out pit entry, so I think it's just been a pain point across the whole field under green.
A pain point. Sorry, I was like,
I haven't worked out what you mean by that yet, but if you give me a few minutes, I'll be back. Get me out of here.
James Scioli taking over the second position from Zach Kerr, so I'm not sure if Zach Kerr overexerted. Mind you, only one lap older tires, but maybe maybe on the inverse, maybe he's trying to save the tires and not pushing as hard this early in the run. That is also a plausible thing. So we are at now, my maths here, yes, we are at halfway right now. Again, complete clean and green here at Kansas. If this thing finishes out, we only got about 30 more minutes of live action at current pace. So this race absolutely flying by. And covering some other sponsors here. If you're looking for something to do at work tomorrow to kill some time on the drive-in, the commute, what have you, you can check out the High Banks podcast. Two blue-collar guys, Nick and Alex, talking about NASCAR and more. Multitude of episodes, but episode number 228 has our league owner Jacob Bell featured in it. So again, that's on Spotify, the High Banks podcast.
I think we caught it on the cam not too long ago. Scioli's reclaimed that second and is starting to run a bit from Zach Kerr. Not overwhelmingly, but he's decided that P2 is for him, and he's not let Jake Nichols run away. 3 attempts and catching. This is going to be between these two, and these are the two drivers that win green Kansas races, so they're looking to add another one to their record, and everyone else seems pretty impervious to catch. Nichols generally has been less flying on this run, or maybe Scioli's decided to start flying up the track himself. I'm checking further back on the field, the number 1 car, Brody Falliker, almost engaging in some free wide action. We still have a bit of battling down in sort of 2 rows of 2. We are free again. So around for these P10s, these drivers are running dangerously close and dangerously scary. I'm hearing Jake Nichols communicating at the lapping of that cars here. So we're just starting to make it back through some old traffic again.
Oh, somebody in the wall there on the top of the shot there. That's Travis Beckner running the high side, and that's the risk of running that lane as you eventually put yourself in the wall. Now he loses the momentum down the back. Connor Horn in the top 10 trying to make some more of it, as is Zach Nichols. He'll run the middle, and that 27 will head down. But look at that 44 running that middle lane with a head of steam. Gets to the outside of Connor Horn, but still to the inside of Beckner, whose speed has recovered. And again, we saw Zach Nichols lead a few laps on the pit cycle, but I think he has the freshest tires of anybody, if I'm not mistaken. He does by about 2 or 3 laps, trying to make his way up through the field here in that number 44 up to 8th.
I mean, this is a really, really scary tangle, and the quicker you can get away from it, the better. He's got 2 seconds to make up after this, so he's going to have to do a lot of clean running, but you can't really run away when you're mirror driving quite this hard. I think if something unfortunate kicks off, it'll be around the tough battling on here. Some going all the way high, some going all the way low to 26, flying through the asteroid belt like Han Solo there. A little bit of a wiggle. I think that could have been a tap from the 77. He might just make it out, but I think Venable on that top line. No, he's actually going to be faster on the bottom. Beckner, real bravery. I've been calling it's been Evans in the 26 and 27 are like the same number to me. They're one off. It has been Evans flying through, and it's been Beckner on the high line.
Yep, and that 11 car, remember Philip Groner, he's on that alternate strategy, has not gotten the ability to recover from that drive-through penalty earlier in the race, has been waiting for the caution. That has not happened. He pitted as late as physically possible. Well, he's still in that free pass position. First car 1 lap down. The unfortunate thing for him is we will start having genuine lappers probably in about, I'd say, 20 laps. You have Joseph Berg about 25 seconds off the pace there in 22nd, but we may have a battle for the lead. Again, our drivers here up front are Kansas Dominators, I believe 4, if I'm not mistaken, 609 Motorsports. If I get that wrong, I'm probably going to get absolutely cremated here. Just looking at my back end sheet, and it is 609 Motorsports. Yes, these guys up front. Last season's win, season 6, that went to Jake Nichols. Season 5 went to James Scioli, as well as the area season 1 going to Scioli. So right now Nichols wants to even it up and get 2 wins for that team, 2 wins per driver. A lot of time to be had, but that lead is deteriorating.
I think a battle for the lead is definitely on the books. There are 10th gone, and it could be another 10th very, very soon. Some good, consistent long-run pace coming up from Scioli. I'm hearing Travis Beckner go wild on the mic. There's not even anything going on other than a really tight battle, but I think they're just having a lot of fun in this duel right here. I mean, they're stuck together like absolute glue. Up front, laps are generally just a bit faster from Scioli. They're about a 10th to 500th faster every lap, but now he's in that sort of window where you have to make up that time and earn it without getting dirty aired out. So this is where suddenly, that advantage you had pushing, it sort of becomes marginal, whereas this is an absolute dogfight up in the middle of this field. It really, really is. We have drivers above the line, below the line, taking the top, taking the bottle, flying through the middle. Thankfully, we've sort of strung out a bit from the chaos of a few laps ago, but it's been some very, very good chasing.
Yeah, right now you can see the 73 and the 7 both running the same line. Now, is that intentional? Are they on comm saying, hey, I like the middle? Or is that just circumstantial? Because a lot of Kansas is mirror driving. And, where are they running? Try to take that clean air away. But right now they're both running in that middle. But as you said, Scioli seeming to do a little bit better at it here at this juncture. So lap number 76. Little field rundown right now of our 30 takers to the grid here today. We have 4 behind the wall. Miller, Payne, Stewart, and Smith. I don't have any immediate indications as to either of them. So interesting there.
We did just get Miller was involved in an incident, so you might want to dig back a little in your overlay for that one, but he just got brake checked by the 30 for a meatball flag.
Okay, I did see here.
Yeah, and then I've tried going back, and then it just shows the scenic cam as well. Like, I'm as confused as you are, but I'm trying to work out how to keep an eye on this one as well. There was a bit of a wreck, though. It all stayed on that infield, so we haven't had the yellow thrown, and it's a +2 penalty points for the 30 car. See if we catch this again.
Yeah.
You see, I struggled too. I struggled with it too. So
yeah, this is again, we don't have 7 production trucks here, so if I can't find it easily, then we just pretend it didn't happen. Ultimately, that's just part of sim broadcasting here. We only have one set of eyes that's actually making the cameras work here. So either way, something happened, but not enough to interrupt the flow of the race here. But here is a battle going on for the third spot. Marin wants it. Kerr has it. Kerr all the way down to the flat there on the apron, but that outside lane, at least the middle outside, has been the preferred lane. Kerr all the way down to the bottom, but look at that momentum from the 24. Should be an easy clear with the momentum down the back.
I found the incident. I'm not going to give you step-by-step instructions on how to replicate it, but you know, coming up on the 30 may have even been a lap down. Just sort of the 30 just sort of goes up half a lane a bit and it just gets sent down into the infield from the front of the 28. In fact, if you look at the very front of the 28, you will see a little bit of aero damage. That's where it came from. So, yeah, that took some real science by me to dig out, and you've got a live show to run. So I'll just leave you the incident report, and we'll move on, where Zach Kerr is chasing down with Sebastian Marin. They are 2x2. Literally, Travis Beckner is screaming noises in my ear as I try and speak right now. I'm not even kidding. I have the driver mics, and he's really getting very excitable on this track.
Connor Horn pulling off the slide job. Except he didn't slide. He left him the lane. He drove it in deep, though. Thought he was going to try to clear up the lane and go to the top, take the run away from the 27, but instead gave him the lane, gave him the whole top of the circuit there, and that, you know, kind of detrimented the 57's run. And he's clear again. Will he go to the top? Doesn't need to, as the 27. I don't know if he's on comms right now yelling, but that was his own self-inflicted error. Puts himself into the turn 2 wall.
Thankfully, not that time. It's only when I try to speak that I get thrown off. It's sort of like excitable yelling, but like it's very loud, and it just surprises me. And it's the iRacing codec, so you hear it, and it's like it's been crunched like it's an Xbox Live from 2006. Never change iRacing. Never, ever, ever change. Scioli hasn't made inroads I expected on the leader. Still 3/10, sticking there for a while. So I've been watching that go up and down a bit, but it hasn't quite made its move. Here's where the moving is happening. I am drawn to the scheme on that 26, by the way. It's just something about that shade of yellow that really speaks to me. We can see the damage 28 is side by side with him on the top lane. That aero damage has slowed him by quite a bit, and he might get some clearing from Zach Nichols on the way as well.
44 of Zach Nichols on his way through. That aero damage for Furness surely going to hinder him here at the Kansas Speedway. Need all that downforce, all that lack of drag. Don't want to have anything to it. Hopefully, for his sake, that the radiator's getting full air. Sometimes that happens on the front end impacts where you'll stop getting air and that car will heat up. But all that for naught here, as we are now past lap number 80. Up front, Nichols still holds them 3/10. They have stabilized, running basically dead equal. Pull up on the ticker, you see 4 1,000 separate them, and only other driver in the 1/10 sector last lap was actually Connor Horn. In that number 57. He's back in the 9th spot, but evidently one of the fastest cars here on the circuit. Coming now, what are we at? 45 to go, so I'd say the window is open to make one final stop. Regarding stints, we are between 36 to 40 laps, so window's open.
Just one more report from the 27 is that he asked for a caution. And race control on the mic have said, let's not do that. So I'm glad they're having a great time together, and that they have very opposing views, I think, on how this race should go. It's been a real green flag runner, and it's been pretty clean, and there's been some storylines throughout the race, such as the storyline for P3 that I'm seeing. Sebastian Marin's has sort of been on the rear of Zach Kerr for a while, just trying to get through and getting very close and not quite getting it done. He's now dropped off, but sometimes he gets within that sort of like less than a tenth, and you think, oh, it's close. He certainly does pull out in some corners here.
Yeah, Barrett, I think he had taken the spot and then must have lost it, and Kerr is seeming to have that long run pace. Of course, Kerr did lead a lap or two earlier in the event after that pit stop cycle. Pitted a lap early, got that time, took the lead, but quickly lost it, and we just haven't seen those top two 609 Motorsports drivers, haven't seen them drop off. They just have the ability to sustain that speed over the long haul as they currently do. Jonathan Evans, he has been one to talk about in that shade of yellow that tickles your fancy there, along with Jeff Wright, and again Zach Nichols on his comeback tour He is trying to close in there in that 8th spot.
What were they doing back there at the top of your cam? We almost saw 4 wide. And then someone nearly wrecking off the top, the 51 sliding. Oh, this is so precarious.
Whoa. How did they... How?
What are they doing and how is it working?
Yeah, how is the netcode model allowing that? That was legitimate contact there off of 4. They're still going at it. Travis Beckner almost want to turn his mic on here. Slide job! 51 gets in front. Will Beckner make a crossover? The one of Falliker's down to the bottom. 51 dead sideways off of 2. You'd think this was for $1 million there, Howie.
I love battling for like 12th is like my hobby in any league I race. So these guys, there's been quite a few slides, quite a few contacts, quite a few twitches, almost 40 laps on these tires. Some are over 40 laps, so they're well and truly on every squeeze. It's looking tighter than the last. Here's our Hendry County Motorsports Park instant replay.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a brief clip anytime now. There we go. I want to see if we can get that turn 4 contact there. Watch the 51 if I time this right here. He's dead sideways.
I still just don't like the way that car is moving. You know.
I think I may have missed the good part of it there. But either way, some tight racing. I wanted to catch that turn 4 side-by-side racing again. But my replay skills are very amateur here today for some reason. But
you just have to like hunt and peck.
Yeah.
And hope.
Hunt, peck, and hope. That's put that on a t-shirt. That might sell. 88 and 48 still battling. Scioli, top of the shot. He has gotten the gap sub 0.3 of a second, which small gains. Perhaps Francis Hamilton in that 23 putting enough dirty air that it's hindering Jake Nichols. Perhaps not, because he just ate that gap up in one corner. But the gap is slightly smaller. Again, we're waiting to see who draws first blood on the pit stop. But with the gaps that we have, Howie, I don't know if the overcut undercut is going to mean too much here as Jeff Wright comes in.
Well, Wright has to come in because he made a ridiculously early stop the first time around. So he's just been, suffering on old tires now. He's almost like 5 to 6 laps back on the rest of the field in terms of their in terms of the tire management. So we sort of like the first weather vane for when this is all about to start kicking off. Jake Nichols didn't lead coming out of the pits on the first cycle and then took it back in easy measure, and Scioli wasn't able to get it done. If Scioli wants to win this race now, he needs to do something similar to what happened last time. Hope Nichols has a bad pit stop, get ahead there and stay ahead and absolutely make sure it's locked in. Now is about the time of the race where you start getting your elbows out to defend from people and you start thinking like, I need to hold this position for all it is worth without trying to wreck people. That's Zach Nichols running into the pits now, one of our most exciting runners of the race so far. So drivers are really starting to drop in. We're going to see it all go kick off in the next few laps.
Now, if you're Scioli, you want the undercut over your teammate. That undercut is going to be 1.6 seconds approximately by pitting that 1 lap early. Now, you saw Zach Kerr drop back, even though he had 1 lap older tires, but I think the overall pace of that 12 is not on the same, plane as the 7 and 73. So if you're Scioli, you do not want to pit second. And they're teammates, they're working together, but every lap that goes by, teammates becomes less and less a thing. And ultimately, drivers' selfishness comes in. And here comes Scioli. He's listening. He says he heard me say it. And he's going to drive in as hard as he can.
Make that entry right, make that box right, make that exit right, and pray. That was quite a late lunge trip, but if he's going to win this by staying out ahead at the end of the cycle, then he'll just defend like his life absolutely depends on it. This leaves Zach Kerr next car behind Nichols with a 4-second gap. He's been chased down by Marin still. That's another battle that we'll see play out and swap in the pit lane. Marin not really able to get ahead.
73 remaining on circuit, so that's completely opposite to what I would have thought, because remember, every lap he stays out, that's 1.5 seconds he's losing to his teammate. So interesting decision there. I know sometimes you want to be the chaser and not the chasee, but I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll see. Here comes Jonathan Evans in.
It worked the first time for him. It did work the first time. He came from quite some distance and claimed it all back. Maybe he's thinking end of run because his end of run, long run has been fantastic throughout the race. Now he drops in Jake Nichols into the pit lane. Just a couple laps difference on it. It could matter end of run. He's proven so far that he's pretty good with it. Kerr behind.
Zach Kerr pitting as well, but as you said, that 73 coming in, and that's Blaze McKinney there. Hopefully that doesn't slow his pit entry into his stall out at all, because he's already batting from behind. Anything further to that is just going to make his comeback tour even more difficult. But Sebastian Marin leading this thing presently now. Again, we have been clean and green at this juncture, and Marin entering with a vengeance. You saw him sideways off the bank, and you see him sideways on the flat and locking it up to the cone. He is trying to get every last tenth of a second, hopefully not too much.
That's the sort of entry that's going to really kill the battle that he has been having throughout this race. His opponent didn't do that little slide, do that little lock, and really that's just temps on the track. You don't realize how big the gap is until you come out and you think, where did my opponent go? Now it's 9 cars that are yet to stop. Francis Hamilton, the back of that, and Connor Horn, the front of it.
Matt Kemp in that 51 car, so that Taco Bell car. It's not Taco Tuesday, but some people like their Taco Bell on Thursday. And but Connor Horn getting absolutely swallowed up there. There goes Zach Nichols getting by. Zach Nichols puts himself back on the lead lap. Zach Kerr just behind. He wants to get himself back on the lead lap. Remember, if we do get a caution, it's much better to be on the lead lap than it is to be the lucky dog, and it's certainly better than having to take the wave around. So that's the number one goal by some of these guys. Here comes Mike Venable to the attention of his crew, as is Brody Falliker in the 1, making that pit stop in the 1 LVV Racing Supra. But still waiting Connor Horn, who really has nothing to lose at this juncture. Big wiggle there from Travis Beckner, no surprise.
Drivers just hoping to get the most out of their rubber now. It's Hamilton to Horn, Furness, and Asagak, which that's a hard one to get down, and Berg. And then it's Scioli that's leading out at the end of the cycle. It's Scioli over Oplinger, who is a driver we've not really seen up near the front. Then Wright, then Nichols, then Kerr. Nichols is currently, that's Zach Nichols. I can't just say Nichols, it is not specific enough. I'm trying to find out where the other Nichols is. I think he's quite some distance back.
11th versus, so right now Zach
That's
is...
Zach,
let's just do a reference point in a second here. He is at start finish now.
It's because Jake's further up the track. He's in 5th.
Yeah,
He's
about a quarter of a lap up.
Looking at the wrong way. That would put Jake 2nd on the road after he stops. But chasing down Scioli.
Here is the most important battle to reckon right now, and that is James Scioli, who is 8 seconds behind Anna Sogak, and 11.8 seconds back, so about 3.2 seconds or so is the lead that Scioli is enjoying over Jake Nichols. That is what he will have to equal out. 5 laps of fresh tires will have to equal 3 seconds if that 73 wants to win this race.
That is a lot. You make it sound like it's a lot. I contend with it's not the 2-lap gap on the tires. I think it's just Nichols' general pace and complexion over this race. He really hasn't put a foot wrong, so I think there's still a chase on the cars. I don't think this is a race that's been single-handedly decided in the pit lane. We'll definitely see them come close, and then we'll see the duel of fates to finish off this race. About 15 minutes of green running, and we could very much do it to the end. Caution. I'm going to say the word. Just hope it comes. Hope maybe the curse is still real. Do we have a caution? Okay, we're not going to do that anymore. We got a great race to the end. Thumbs up by all.
We sure hope that is the case here, because this race has certainly been hot. You know what else is hot? rickshotsauce.com. You can head over to rickshotsauce.com for some of the best hot sauces made in South Florida. Try the Lokahatchee Classic, the Golden Garlic, Palm Beach Pineapple, or South Beach Heat. You can follow the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle on Monday nights in the Area Cup Series on the IDK YouTube channel. and see who will win that $100 prize. That is rickshotsauce.com.
You can tell when someone knows how to throw to an ad read. I mean, I would never be able to live up to that sort of excellence.
Yeah, segues. Even if it's not a segue, I'll find a way to segue. That is just the way that I roll here. Zach Kerr starting to roll to the top of the racetrack and trying to get by some of these drivers who are off pace. He'll go 3 abreast to the top of the track. Jeff Wright down there to the bottom in the Pepsi car. That is a battle for position. DeWeese and Berg are not. So Kerr wants to get by and make some space between him and that number 48 Pepsi car as they both will clear. A little race summary right now. We have 17 drivers still on the lead lap, the final of those being Greg Mitchell in the 2, but he is not on the lead lap by much. He is only 28 seconds behind the leader, and we're running about 30 some odd seconds around here. 4 drivers out of the race. Myriad of drivers 1 lap down, 3 drivers 2 laps down, and again, 106 laps, and Barney has yet to throw the yellow flag.
Jake Nichols was a 1/10 of a second faster than James Scioli on the last lap. That's not much right now as he crosses the line. Now it's almost 3/10. He's faster, even like the tires have not made an impact 12 versus 10. That's not what's doing it. That is someone that wants to chase and someone that wants to battle. He now has only about 22 maths are really hard, and it's 3 a.m. for me, so I have a great excuse. Yes, he has less than 30 laps to do it. Thumbs up, just over 20, make that work. Double it, give it to the next person. So I think there is a real chase here, and he is just going to keep gaining it, and this is before the tire delta kicks off.
So this time by 1.54 for Nichols to a 3 for Scott. Let's just round up for the sake of rounding. 0.2 of a second times 22 laps, that equals basically 2.2 seconds. So if he continues at that pace, we have a photo finish, and I think the odds of him continuing that pace are about 50-50, because as each lap goes by, they kind of equalize out a little bit. Last time round, he was only about a 1/10 faster, so that ain't gonna do it. But Justin Anosogak still on circuit from his pit stop, 50 laps out on his run. He is just praying for the yellow as Scioli will get full clean air on the hood of that car. 18 in the middle of that. That's Nico Servideo. He's 2 laps down. And finally, the 88 says, I need gas, I need tires. Didn't work. Let's see where we shuffle out.
Well, I think this gap's going to get easier and easier for Jake Nichols as the tires fall off. It is only a 2-lap difference, but eventually, Scioli's going to hit that cliff, but it started getting really slow, and Jake Nichols has been very, very good in the long run. So, photo finish? Now, I think someone will be clearly ahead, but it's just a case of whether the chase happens for long enough and quickly enough. But keeping an eye on Sebastian Marin's car, and maybe just because of the bright, extravagant purple that stands out to me, that's another car that I see from a mile away, and I'm like, wow, he just passed round Justin Opelinger. Although he's got very new tires. Newest of this top 4, it's 13 versus 14, 14 and 16. The cars behind, they're on 20. They're going to drop like rocks for a while.
Yeah, James Scioli looking for his first win of the season. As someone who's used to winning here in the series has yet to. Sebastian Marin with 5 wins on the season, and him being in 4th is just essentially last to many drivers. Jake Nichols also looking for his first win. Zach does have one. So 2 drivers up front certainly wanting some wins. Everyone trying to keep that number 24 out of victory circle, and it seems like that's going to be the case here, barring some extenuating circumstances. Here comes Zach Nichols. Just speaking of him, he's going to dive it on in, and the 48's going to dent the can, and he's going to put himself in the fence. And John Furness, he is off of the lead lap, so that is of no battle, but trying to get by.
It's amazing how well these drivers are stuck to each other, and they've stuck to the track, and they've not had any major, self-inflicted incidents that stuck around. We've had a few wall hits. We've had 1 or 2 little car taps that haven't caused cautions. But, I was seeing drivers loose all over the place in practice. I was then seeing drivers loose all over the place and complaining about being loose all over the place. And here we are. We're just running great lap after great lap after great lap. People have really had to dial it back a bit. They've used that time as learning experience. They can just fly around this track probably. They could just keep doing this for the next 2 hours. Why don't we just race until we get a yellow? Who knows?
That sounds like something that, no, I'm not even going to finish that. But ahead of that...
NASCAR would do it. NASCAR would do it.
Or they would just throw a promoter's caution, as we saw at North Wilkesboro. Justin Opplinger in the 55 running in 5th. That's a lot of 5s for you. He has about a 1.5 second advantage over Zach Nichols. And speaking of Nichols, you know, we were doing our maths earlier, and Jake has made that exponentially easier for us, because now sub 1 second, running 2/10 of a second a lap faster, that means he wins this race by about 2 seconds ish, something on that line. So certainly the battle for the win is going to be much easier here, but a good battle for the 3rd spot. Kerr and Marin giving each other no room to spare off of 2.
I mean, he's going to get within those 3-4 attempts, and then the game's going to be, can he pass in time? Because if there's any time you defend like your life depends on it, it's in the last 10 laps of a long race that you just claim the lead off of. Nichols got him last time, but that last time isn't the time that matters. It's this time. Kerr and Marin, they've been having great battles all race, so they've been sort of the secondary back and forth as Kerr really taking to that apron. Marin trying to get under, and he's just about made that space available, running him all the way up to the wall. The side drop, a little bit of contact actually. Ooh, bad manners on the track. A little bit of contact has pushed him up the track and given him that P3.
Doing a little bit of crossovers there, but this time by, and I just had some fun on that graphics. He didn't fill out the spreadsheet. But yeah, they were doing crossovers, but ultimately he didn't get through 3 and 4 well enough to complete the crossovers, so he'll fall back to 4th. Barron up to 3rd, which is impressive given what he had to deal with a little bit earlier. Mike Venable and Travis Beckner. Beckner has been a highlight reel and puts himself in the fence because we had him on camera. So that battle will fizzle out quickly. Venable will get himself into the 10th spot.
Another pack of drivers that have been giving us a great battle all race long. I mean, they're not quite going the elbows out they used to. I think drivers have really settled into their pace at this point in the race, but they're all sticking on each other's tail and running it well. I'm just seeing the 88 of Justin Anasagak now. He's going to be flying past some of these battles we see as he seeks to unlap himself. 7-lap old tires. He's obviously not in a contention for this race, but if you see that 88 just fly around like a speeding bullet, maybe even on the leaders, that's what's going on. Extremely fresh tires. We now have Travis asking whether people could be sent into the outside wall. So you know, he definitely is opinionated. I'm enjoying it now. As long as I'm not getting jump scared, I'm enjoying it. That's all I'll say.
Now, Anasogak, he is in the position right now to get the free pass. He's drove himself into that position. Someone you have to feel for is Philip Groner in that number 11. Just never had the opportunity to recover from that issue, well, that penalty to start the race off. And with a race that goes caution-free, if you get put behind, the only way to get it is the natural way, and that's just a little bit hard to do on the ovals. But here we go up front. We have Scioli, Greg Mitchell going a lap down. That caused Scioli to have to work that lap traffic. Still has some more lap traffic in the form of Reese Schaefer in that 07. Certainly helping Nichols close the gap even further. Now it's less than 0.3 of a second as we go to 10 laps to go.
We look away for a second and the chase is on right in the same way. And in fact, we've even been asked leaders are battling for the win. So calm down the race chat is what I've just heard, because this is a real chase to the end. 2 attempts in it. This is where drivers have stalled out in the past throughout this race. They sort of ended up here and have not really been able to make the run. Dirty air from the car in front just been sticking in their way and making it tricky. Jake Nichols has 8 laps to do it in, and he's done it once before already. Once doesn't mean the win, though. It means he has to earn it again.
And it's going to be a matter of mirror driving if you're Scioli. If you run that middle, you force him to the top, or he risks getting in the fence. If you force him to the bottom, well, you risk that he slides up into you. But luckily, as a teammate, you kind of assume that that won't happen. But just look at even through the center of the corner here. He gets a better run, a little bit of a wiggle from Scioli. Gap stays pretty consistent. Now we're pushing sub 1/10 of a second, about a tenth faster last time for Nichols. And Nichols says, I got to do something different. He goes up to the top of the track. Let's see. He keeps himself off the wall, gives himself some space. What will the momentum be off of 2?
I think if Scioli, it's the British thing, keeps giving him the top, this will be cleared in absolute no time. Now, the two, they are teammates. They don't want to end up in each other's stuff, and they're going to be respectful. But, you know, at the same time, they both do want this win, and they want to do it cleanly and fairly to the end. Nichols was committed to that top line last time around. Can't have it this time. There's lap traffic blocking the way, and each time they run into this lap traffic, it's going to take a lane away from them, especially because it hasn't even been cleared this time. This lap traffic could accidentally become a part of this battle, even though they're being respectful. Both jump to the bottom, but that's another turn where they have to run the same lines.
And I'm just seeing that number 7. I feel, whoa, that's Alan Fox, that lapper. He just punted the turn 4 wall, but I'm seeing that 7 really planted on the right rear and getting a little bit right rear happy. Here goes the 73 up to the wall. We know what's going to happen. He's going to get the run off of 2. Hopefully, if he executes it properly. Here, he lost about a tenth. That's to be expected. He gains it back, but doesn't make a net gain out of running the top. That's important because you need the net gain. You need to be able to get more on the end of the straightaway to overcome what you lose through the center.
Looks like the road is clear up the track, and both cutting on the apron. Jake Nichols jumps right to the inside. It's not quite enough this time around, but it's as tight as can possibly be between the two. They keep trying the same approach. They keep doing quite similar moves. Now it's the top for the 73. He's sort of trying everything, and they're not quite working for him with the time running out. In fact, he looks like he's sliding around the track a little bit.
Yeah, last time by, tried completely different approach. He lost a ton of time, but he gained more than he ever has doing whatever he did through 3 and 4. Or conversely, maybe the 7 tried something different that completely failed. 7 seems committed to running that first seam, doesn't really want to drive the car up the track, and at this point in the race, if you're not used to running a different line, you may not want to experiment with it because usually it takes a lap or 2 to figure something else, and we only have 4 laps to go. You don't really have any experimental laps, so Nichols knows what Scioli's going to do. He just has to find the way to execute the way around it.
But also, if there's one thing you do not want to do, it is wreck a teammate in a 1-2 finish. That will surely get you in some trouble and disagreement by the end. So anything about keeping it respectful between these two is more important to them than anything else. Scioli is defending exactly when he needs to right now. There's a 2-lap difference on these tires, which shouldn't be overwhelming, but both in the 30s in terms of age, both getting old, both getting loose. You can see
here he goes, different lane, Scioli.
The bumper. Here he goes for the bottom.
He left the top open, or rather he left the bottom open for Nichols. Scioli running the fence. He will get the momentum. He will clear, but does he go to his traditional line? Yes, he does. Jake Nichols going to run the top, try to get that momentum going. A lap and a half to figure it out here at Kansas.
At the same time, by the way, you don't need to take a look, but at the same time, Kerr and Marin are doing the exact same thing, and Marin has the advantage for now. We're almost dead even into entry of 1 and 2. Scioli, he's faster on the bottom. This hasn't been the case for so much in this race, and he almost slide jumps in the way. What a dive to the bottom by Jake Nichols on the straight to try and make this work. That's given him a ton of momentum. I think he'll be starting to clear this.
He's going to try the slider here. He couldn't quite clear. We're going to have a Kansas photo finish to the line. Scioli to the top, Nichols to the bottom. The momentum, the contact, the run to the checkers. Who's going to get it? Scioli by a fender.
That was an incredible move on the straight, and that's the only thing that was going to work for him. But you are wrecked by your position on the line. And on the line, that outside has a great advantage nearly every time. I was not expecting that to. You said photo finish. I didn't believe photo finish. We delivered the photo finish. Love to see it. It's actually Zach Kerr who was able to beat out Sebastian Marin on the final lap as well. Can't see you be seeing two things at once, though. I mean, this was spectacular enough.
Yeah, let's watch this Hendrickani replay. This is the run into 3. Scioli runs the top of the track, which he wasn't used to, but he had no choice. He had to try to do something, maintain that run off the corner. There goes Nichols. There goes the run to the checkers here. And let's just quickly try to see this battle to the line. You can see the little bit of a run. Here comes the 73, getting a little bit of a surge where if you're the 7 right here, this is where you're getting nervous. Now we're getting to the nitty gritty here. Let's take a look. Start finish should be off yonder in just a second. Time this a little bit earlier than I'd like to. The dramatic run up, please. Let's see.
I'm afraid it's a bit too obvious as well.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah, that is the margin.
If you can tell it on first glance, then.
Yeah, but that is the margin of victory after and this is the most impressive part of all to this, after a green flag run for 130 laps to end this under a photo finish is absolutely fantastic stuff. So that being said, let's go wrap things up here with our post-race show, give you the final rundown of results here today from the Kansas Speedway. Scioli hangs on in a thriller by 2 100ths over his teammate Jake Nichols in second. Zach Kerr, the Aussie, gets himself a podium here in third. Marin in fourth. Justin Opliger in fifth. Connor Horn gets the monkey off his back, gets a solid finish in sixth. Zach Nichols in seventh. Jeff Wright in eighth. Evans and Venable rounding out our top 10 there, Howie.
Sitting in 11th was Brody. Where did the J come from? Brody Falliker in the 1, but ahead of Travis Beckner in the 27. In 13th, we have Blaze McKinney in front of Austin Anasagak. You've given me the ones I don't get on this one. Reese Schaefer sits in 15th with Alan Fox in 16th. Greg Mitchell, Philip Grona, Francis Hamilton, and John Fronas make up our 11 to 20.
And then our final page of results is as follows. Joseph Berg in 21st, Braxton Deweese 22nd, Matt Kemp in the Taco Bell car 23rd, Nico Servideo, Casey Lacadas 25th, Day Miller Payne, Nate Stewart, and Forrest Smith rounding out our field. Now we head down to Victory Circle, which is presented by Victory Fuel. Celebrate tonight's win with Victory Fuel with your caffeine-free flavors like Throttle Punch, Purple Potion, or Lucky Lemon. Packed with electrolytes, charged with vitamins, and kid-friendly. Get 10% off your order with Area iRacing and promo code at checkout. James Scioli ends up getting the victory photo finish after 130 laps under green. You had those slightly older tires. You were loosey-goosey trying to figure out which lane to block your teammate in, and you did it by the skin of your teeth, man. How's this one feel?
Yeah, it feels good. First, got to shout out Jake for yet another clean battle. We always race each other clean. Always a blast racing somebody like that. And natural. We did the exact same thing here last season, except he beat me. So glad to be on the other side. Glad to have a nice long run, natural finish, and that end up leading to a photo finish. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, these kind of races certainly are a blast, and this Xfinity car puts on a much different race than obviously the truck and the next gen, not as packed up. It's, more in the driver's hands. And towards the end, I mean, you seemed committed to that first seam. And then towards the end, you kind of realized he had the top rolling and you had to change it up there. Were you comfortable that you could change your line on the fly like that, or was that just kind of a risk and hoped it paid off?
Yeah, I was pretty comfortable changing. I knew I'd run the top a couple times earlier, at least in 1 and 2, so I knew that I could probably run it there and be fine. I was just, honestly, even running the top, I just didn't feel like I was getting as good of runs, and I didn't want to get loose up there or something and just kind of hand him the win. So figured I'd just stay committed to what I did the whole race, just stay committed to that seam and just try and get the best exits that I could. And he even got to my outside on the last lap, but just was able to send it in on the seam, and she stuck and get a good exit, and then just able to rip the top in 3 and 4 luckily, and just barely hang on.
Absolutely there. And now we'll be off next week for the All-Star. 2 difficult races to end up the regular season. After that at COTA, and of course the shootout at Talladega. Getting a win here is going to be big, but what kind of confidence do you have to stack up some more playoff points in the next coming weeks?
Yeah, definitely huge getting the win here. First win on the season, so definitely some big playoff points there. And then really looking forward to Coda. I had good speed at Watkins Glen earlier this year, so hopefully I can kind of translate some of that into to good Coda speed. And Talladega, you never really know, just kind of hope that you're there at the end, try and make your way up to the front and stay clean, stay alive, and see what you got. So, yeah, definitely feel pretty good, but just happy to stack some playoff points, especially here for sure.
All right, man. Well, congrats on giving us a blast to cover here today and get yourself your first win. And any final words before we let you go?
Yeah, first want to shout out you guys. Thanks for taking over the broadcast this season. They've been fantastic. Can't wait to go back and watch this one. An awesome battle for sure. So thanks for taking some time out of your guys' week to capture these for us. We really appreciate it. Same thing for the admin team. Luckily, I think we kept it pretty clean this week. Shouldn't have too much for them, hopefully. So hopefully they get a nice early night off. Shout out again, Jake, for an awesome clean battle. Simrap Market, Matt Liveries for being on the car, and 609 Motorsports as well. And hopefully we're talking to you guys again as winner in 2 weeks.
All right. Well, let's see if we can have some fun at the All-Star too, perhaps if you're there for that next week, man. But congrats on the win, and we'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Thanks, guys.
All right, Howie. And I don't know if you'll have the words or how Jake's going to be feeling, but perhaps you can have a word with Mr. Jake and see how he's feeling after that photo finish loss.
Jake Nichols, for every incredible photo finish, there's a winner and there's unfortunately a P2. You had some fantastic running though, so talk us through the race.
Yeah, I think in this league, I've been in like 3 photo finishes at Kansas. I got James last season here at Kansas, but I'm 1 for 2. I've lost 2 of them, but tonight wasn't a big deal. I had a blast brawling with James. I think last time we were here, the outside was a little more manageable at the end, and it was really hard to get a run on him, even with 2 lap pressure. I think that advantage kind of just went away halfway through the run. We still had it, obviously, but we were just both driving as hard as we could, and I wasn't going to wreck him. I almost sent him one time into turn 1, 4 to go or something like that. I was going to commit middle, and he kind of shot middle as well on the outside, so I had to kind of just slam the brakes. Honestly, it kind of felt better after that, so maybe it helped, but either way, it was a fun battle on our Simrap Market cars. They looked beautiful tonight, and to have a 1-2 and as dominating performance as you can get with leading so many laps put together there between James and I, and I wish we would have been first, but either way, we'll take a 1-2 any day of the week.
For much of this race, you absolutely dominated, especially as runs went on in time. How did the car feel for you as the runs went on? Do you think that differed than others?
I think I was pretty decent at taking care. Well, I wouldn't say pretty decent at taking care of the right rear, because every time we kind of heard the numbers from our teammates, we were way below. But I kind of just don't like leaving anything on the table. So those last 10 laps of a run, I'm just going and trying to get every ounce of tire I have left out of the car, and it clearly showed, because we kept on pretty good. I didn't know if we really wanted to go get the lead early in the race, because with how loose the cars were, you kind of wanted to be behind someone to get some dirty air to kind of just snug you up a little bit. But I saw Philip up there from his penalty, so I thought, why not go for the lead and try to use his dirty air a little bit, and clearly it helped. We led a lot of laps. Coming up short of the win, but honestly, it felt like a win tonight. We had a lot of fun and had a great battle once again with my buddy James here. So everyone at 609 had a pretty good race overall. I wish Philip didn't have his penalty. I think he would have been right there with us. But either way, great night for us.
An epic battle, a great performance, and a very, very fun finish. Good race, and we hope to see you perform just like this going on into the upcoming playoffs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I didn't know we had Elvis here in the booth with us, but we'll take over our 3rd place finisher here today. A season best for Zach Kerr from down under here. You get yourself up on the podium, man. You showed some serious speed, led a few laps in the midsection during the pit cycle, and all in all, a top 5 run all night. How are you feeling with this podium tonight?
Oh, very happy after how everything went. Came into this knowing the setup, and knew I was pretty handy around this track with this set, so knew I could salvage a good result.
Yeah, we saw you pit, I think, a lap before the rest of them, and you managed to, overcut Jake Nichols. And I thought for a second, I'm like, all right, it's only a lap older tires. Maybe, just maybe, Zach, has something to muster. But obviously, those 609 cars just had a little bit more pace. Is there some corner specifically, or just something in the setup that just didn't jive with you that those guys seem to have figured out?
I think the mid-run they short fueled, which definitely helped them having less fuel, because I ended up full fueling it, so I was more loose than they were, which definitely didn't help.
Yeah, obviously didn't help you indeed, but you are still in playoff contention. You're 11th right now. This will certainly help you out in your points chase. Off next week for the All-Star, but then we have COTA and Talladega. You're right on that playoff bubble. What's your confidence in being able to sustain and, if not gain, on your positioning?
I'm pretty handy at road courses, being a road guy and then moving to oval. So COTA, I should be able to get another good result, and then Talladega, I just need to hope for the best.
Yeah, I think that's the common thread there, man. But congrats on getting on the podium here today, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time on the road course.
Thank you.
All right, well, that'll wrap things up here today in area. Again, if you're watching on Twitch, make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe here on PTR TV. Thanks, Howie, for coming in and helping out. And you were not just covering our race, you got treated to an absolute grandstand finish here today at Kansas.
That's what Kansas does. That's what Kansas brings. I mean, I hyped it up at the start of today, and I'm not going to take credit for knowing that it was going to end like that. In fact, I'm the one that denied it when you said photo finish. But, there's something about this track that always brings fields to drive at their absolute best, and that is exactly what you'd love to see from here today.
Exactly that. 130 laps of green flag racing, down to about 1.5 feet on the racetrack. But again, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. We'll be back on, Thursday. So we'll be back on Sunday night with Triple Bypass. We'll start the week. We will be back on Tuesday with the area All-Star race featuring all three of their divisions. That one should be a doozy. And then another week of action, so make sure you don't miss any of it. This is going to be Corey and Howie signing out of the booth here tonight, folks. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.